I think there are a lot of things I've learnt, whether directly or indirectly, that have helped me in so many different aspects of life. Through 20 plus years in the game, I've had to learn the hard way more than a few times. But this episode today is all about 5 things I wish I knew earlier in pro wrestling that could have saved me a lot of trouble, and maybe 5 things that you could apply moving forward to your own pro wrestling game. First one may be a little bit controversial, but that is that loyalty isn't everything. Please don't take this as me saying don't be loyal. But what I mean by that is don't limit yourself to a certain bubble. Don't feel like you have to live up to someone else's expectation. If you're in a place where they highly value exclusivity and they won't let you train elsewhere, they won't let you work elsewhere, just be honest with yourself. You may be limiting your growth in pro wrestling. It's very hard to get different perspectives, to get different opportunities, to network. So if someone is telling you what to do and what to be and not letting you be yourself, to me, it's a red flag. And I feel like you can be loyal to a certain sense, but don't let it limit what you do for yourself. When it comes down to it, you are the only one living your life, and you don't want to leave opportunities and experiences on the table when in 5, 10, 15 years' time, all these people you're trying to live up to might not even be in your life. Second tip I wish I knew is that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and often being the polite, quiet, respectful, yes sir, no sir, is just going to put you under the radar. Then you look at the boisterous, arrogant, over-the-top guy in the corner who's making a fool of himself, and he's the one that gets noticed. It happens all the time, particularly when it comes to things like tryouts with the major leagues, and there's not many spots and not many opportunities to actually show yourself. If you think about a WWE tryout, you might do some conditioning drills, some rolls, some break falls, some promos, but you won't really get much more than that. If you get a match, you're very lucky, more so than others. I'm not saying you have to go and be that extrovert. If it's not you, it's not you. And you've got to be authentic to who you are, because people see through it when you're being fake. But at the same time, there's limited jobs, limited opportunities. You got to kick down the doors. You got to socialize, put yourself in front of the right people, ask the questions, make an impression as best you can. If you're enjoying these videos and want to support me in making bigger and better content just like this, make sure you head over to my worldbeaterwrestling.com Patreon. It's a community for pro wrestlers, current and aspiring, a place of networking, collaboration, and exclusive learning content to help you on your pro wrestling journey. Anyway, back to the video. The third one, very similar to the last point, is that people and opportunities won't come to you. You've got to make them for yourself. A lot of it comes back to networking, and networking was the key in me getting the opportunities I received. Networking was the key in all of my colleagues getting the opportunities they received. I don't think I ever saw one single time when someone who didn't really put themselves out there was hand selected. It just doesn't happen, and it's happening less than ever now. When you have so many people who can use the power of social media and things like that to put themselves in front of the right people, you've got to work doubly as hard. The fourth one is that this is supposed to be fun, and we often lose sight of that very quickly. Just like your last failed relationship, things get a little bit too serious, emotions get in the way, you start caring about little things that don't actually matter, and there's just too much stakes involved. But you've got to remember why you did it in the first place. You started this because you loved pro wrestling, and you continued with it because it was fun. And the last one, the most important one, the one that I've learned the hard way so many times, is not to expect too much. It's great to have long-term dreams. It's great to have ambitious dreams. But until you're sitting on that plane with contract in hand, and even at that point, don't expect it's actually going to happen, because all too often in pro wrestling, it crumbles before your eyes. I know that's a very negative way to think about it, but it's the truth. Opportunities come and go, things get in the way. Sometimes you won't even know why things got in the way. I can't tell you how many times myself or others have been promised certain things, and then it just went to radio silence. You didn't hear anymore, and that opportunity seemingly disappeared with no idea why. Was it me? Was it something that happened, something I did, something around me, or did something change behind the scenes? But you can't worry too much about that, because that's going to halt your progression. For me, the most important thing to keep you on track is to celebrate the little wins, enjoy the journey, show gratitude for the journey, And anything that comes beyond that is a bonus. Wrestling isn't fair, it's highly subjective, and sometimes one person's ill-informed opinion can completely cut off the road ahead of you. So have lofty goals, but not lofty expectations. I thank you again for watching another week of World Beater Wrestling. I'd love to know if those tips resonated with you, or if you have any of your own you'd like to add to the mix, please drop it in the comments box below. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you can stay up to date every single week with these episodes. And of course, if you head over to my worldbeaterwrestling.com Patreon, they're released 1 week early and ad-free for members. I'll see you next week for another episode of World Beater Wrestling.